Hi friends, welcome to Vijay Tech 360. In this video, we are going to see about the containers, which we call Azure Container Instances, ACI. Okay, so just like virtual machines, container can be used in order to run your applications in the cloud. So this is very similar to virtual machines, but in infrastructure perspective, it is completely different from the virtual machines. So this is the upgrade version of the virtual machine. Okay, some difference like containers doesn't own any sort of operating system. Like in virtual machine you had seen, right? In virtual machine what it does, so you can have your host operating system. Out of that the virtual machines are created, and in each virtual machine you can install the guest operating system. That is what we had learned. But when it comes to container, it is not in such a way. Okay, the container doesn't have any sort of operating system. Okay, whatever the base server it is having, the either it is Linux or Windows, that will be the server that will be the operating system entirely for every application. That's it. Okay, so container starts within milliseconds. So unlike virtual machines will take some time like seconds or minutes, but when it comes to containers it will just take a milliseconds of time. So containers use far less storage. So compared to virtual machines, containers will take less storage. Okay, if you see the official documentation of Azure, azure.com/ overview of what is container, if you go here you can see that what I am trying to say. There is a host operating system files and libraries. You can create a different virtual machines. Okay, VM1, VM2, VM3. Out of that VM1 you can install the Windows operating system. In VM2 you can install the Linux, and VM3 you can install the like Windows. Again you can install the Windows. So this operating system, you call it as a guest operating system. And what is the operating system behind the host? You call it as a host operating system. So every operating system, it has some sort of files, it have a certain sort of libraries also. So it is stored in that virtual machine only. Okay, it doesn't affect any sort of other virtual machine. But if you see container, you have a host, you have a host operating system, but you have a containers here like that. But it doesn't have any sort of operating system. It doesn't store any files here itself. Everything is be stored in the host itself. Okay, that is the difference between the container and virtual machine. So in simple manner, if you ask me, like, you should remember infrastructure will be the base layer. On that you have a operating system. On that the hypervisor is used, and in virtual machines the different virtual machines are created, and in each virtual machine you can create the different guest OS. You can install the different applications. It has a different bins and libraries, but it is independent to one VM to other VM. Okay, but when it comes to containers, on base you have a infrastructure. On top of that you have a host operating system. On top of that you have a, instead of having hypervisor, there is one software called as a Docker container daemon. Okay, this is installed inside the host operating system itself. Okay, so it is installed in the operating system itself, and this is going to create the different containers. Okay, so you have a different container images which is have, where in each container image you can install the one application. But always remember the difference between virtual machine and container. Okay, so right now you can think of like, so container doesn't have any sort of operating system. Okay, instead of having a hypervisor like in the virtual machine, there is a one software that is already installed in the host operating system, that we call it as a Docker container daemon. Okay, and each container image you can install, okay, packed into containers, and you can run them independently also, but the files are getting stored in the host operating system itself. Okay, and the boot time, when you compare the boot time, virtual machines it will take minutes of time, but when it comes to container it will just take milliseconds or seconds of time. Okay, So can I install guest operating system in virtual machines? Yes, you can install the guest OS in the Windows virtual machine. So can you see this is the virtual machine. You can install Linux, you can install the Windows, you can install the Windows again here. Like that you can install different operating systems. Okay, but when it comes to container, you can't install the guest operating systems. Okay. And what about the resource? The utilization of CPU, disk, everything will be high, okay, you are in the virtual machines. But when it comes to containers, the utilization of CPU, RAM, storage will be less. Okay, so where I can use these containers, where I can use the virtual machines. So virtual machines are basically useful for the isolated systems. Okay, like I need dev environment, I need test environment, I need SIT environment, like that you can use this virtual machines. Okay, but when it comes to container, whenever you need isolated applications, okay, so you can install one application here, you can install another application here, you can install third application, like that. Whenever you want isolate applications, you can make use of the containers. I hope you got a clarity about the virtual machine and the containers. Okay, now let's see Azure container instance. Okay, you can easily run containers on Azure without managing servers. Okay, that we call it as a Azure container instances. And Azure container instances is a platform as a service from Azure. Okay, remember, virtual machine is a infrastructure as a service, and Azure container instance is a platform as a service, which allows you to upload your containers to Azure and run them immediately. So in ACI or Azure container instances, you can upload your container and you can run them by using Azure. No virtual machine here to manage, or no additional configuration is required. So in Azure instances, you don't need to configure anything. Okay, so additional configurations you need not to do. So while giving demo, you can understand it very easily. Okay, I hope I give you enough clarity about the virtual machines and containers. I hope this video helps you. Thank you.